We need to find this place or we'll be late.
Make a left on Astrology Avenue. Oh, I'm sorry, I meant right. It should be right here. 444 third way. Oh, turn.
It looks like Renee. Yay, we're on time.
The James and Kellee Show.
Great, let's start the show.
Hi, Kelly.
Whee!
Oh my goodness!
Oh, we were just laughing so hard right before we went on the show. Oh my gosh! Well, how are you tonight? You
Let's
like
just say just riding the waves. I guess you'd say, yeah, it's crazy. It's intense out there. And did I tell you this? I don't think I told you this.
Tell me.
I was in an undesirable part of San Diego. It was, I don't know, I've become a general contractor now. So I've been doing a lot of that type of work. I had to go to a tile yard, and it was somewhere where you get tile. And I went to this parking lot, and there was obviously an entrance down there. And it was an empty parking lot. And I was going toward it, but I was going to make a left into a parking space. No cars there, but I was going to make a left, and no, that's the entrance. There's a guy that comes to the entrance in a white truck. He comes to me in a little car. And he stops and he's staring at me. And I think he thinks that I'm going to go out in the entrance instead of, turning left. And he drives right up to my car and he stops. Should I tell you this?
No, you didn't tell me this.
Oh, it's great. He stops short and he stares at me. Like looking down at me. I'm like, okay, what is this guy doing? So I said, hi. He goes, come on over. So he was like, "Arr." And I rolled down my window. And before I could say anything, I said, you think I'm going out of the entrance? I won't do that. It's okay, Traffic Johnny. You can go ahead.
Oh my!
They're making left into that space over there. It's okay, Traffic Johnny. He was like,
Traffic Johnny.
Traffic Johnny, huffing and puffing. It's like, calm down, bro. Chill. Wow.
Oh my gosh.
People are on edge. A lot of people on edge out there. Even driving a car. I don't know if all of you rest have realized it. It feels weird in a car even. Well, out here in California freeways, it just feels strange. So it's like you got to be very careful and cautious because somebody just like whip right in front of you and whip next to you, like a girl just took my bumper off my truck last week.
That's right. Well, I can explain the next 3 days when we talk about astrology and the energy that you're talking about. I definitely will talk about that because you're absolutely right. These are intense energies here.
Intense.
Yeah.
So hello, Elise Clark. Let's say hi to people here.
Hi, Eric.
Yeah, a couple of New Zealanders here.
Hi, Stacy.
Hi, Kate, Diane, Sherry, Nancy, Laura. Hi, Laura again. Laura Essig changed her picture.
She did?
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah.
Hi, Doug. Look at him. Hi, Renee.
Whatever, I use voice any longer we pay. I will talk about that. Don't worry. Traffic Johnny. Do you love that? I know, Laura.
Traffic Johnny.
I just think you have to go at it with joy and laughter and humor because people take themselves too seriously, especially these tense times. That you got to throw them some like fun and joy because they obviously need it to neutralize it. Because he really thought that I was going to go all that way down to the entrance,
and he was just going to bust you for doing it.
And he was just come up with his big front. I'm sitting in this little car, and I don't know what they was thinking. He probably thinking I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm like I'm just sitting there, and where am I going to go? He's staring at me. I'm like.
See, in my mind, I assumed he thought, "Oh no, I wonder if that's James. I can get a reading from him."
Oh no,
it wasn't that, huh? Okay.
No, I was flying Air Force Base too, but maybe I don't know. It was a general or something. But it was a redneck.
Johnny.
It was a redneck. Traffic Johnny is a bit redneck. I'm gonna say it.
Oh my gosh! Oh,
I gotta say it.
Well, I love what you said in your show today. I wrote it down. I loved it. I love it. You said there's negative people have no place in my space.
I know.
I loved it. Loved it. You should have said that to that guy.
Here it is. Yeah, wrote it down. Yeah.
I thought it was great.
Never have. I have no space in my. Negativity has no space in my place.
There you go. I love it.
Great. It's great.
I thought that was just perfect.
And under that is someone I was asking people today about shows to watch on my Soul Care. You watch that, and someone said Indian matchmaking, which I did see that a little bit of that, and the Korean Extraordinary Mr. Wu. Anyway, that's what was right on that. That was this morning.
You have to see. Have you seen The Bear yet?
No.
On Hulu, The Bear.
The Bear
It's
on Hulu.
so good. It's about a chef from Chicago. Oh my gosh, it's so good. But it's on Hulu. It's just phenomenal.
I think I get that.
So good. So anyway, should I tell you a little bit of what's going on?
Please.
Because I think, it's a very
I should have had a brandy, but I don't drink brandy.
I love ginger ale. I just came back from this trip with my family, and ginger ale was the number one thing that we drank. Ginger ale. My little grandson's into ginger ale. My daughter's everybody's into ginger ale. Carol was into ginger ale. Everybody's into ginger ale.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. Well, these are really powerful energies. Let's just say this, that are coming up here. Really powerful. And this lasts for really weeks and weeks and weeks. But today, what happened is
weeks and weeks.
Weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. I mean, really, it builds up. All this energy that I've been talking about, James, it has been from like the end of July through August, through September and October, are all building. These astrological events are building upon each other. And so the event that we have going on this week is today, the 15th, 14th, 15th, and 16th. So the 14th, 15th, and 16th of August, we have Mars, the planet of war. It's conjunct, which means next to the fixed star Al-Ghul. And the fixed star Al-Ghul
Not Al Gore. Al Ghul.
Yeah, it sounds like Al Gore, but it's the fixed star of the star of death. It's a very intense star. And it involves a lot of insane, unpredictable behavior. So people are going to be unreasonable. They're going to be out of control. And so what happens when we have a situation like this? The roadmap says, be careful, be nice to one another. Don't fight back if you don't have to. It's not a time for fighting back. It's more of a time to observe. And because there'll be, there's a great psychological term we use. It's called crazy. And there's going to be a lot of crazies out there, So the next 3 days are intense, more intense than usual, I would say. So everything you're saying.
I feel it. And it really feels to me. And I've said this before to you and everybody here. I felt the past, 6 months. I'm sure a lot of everyone else has too. That a feeling like someone's crushing me, like there's a pressure on me, or I'm rolling a boulder up a mountain. And this feels a little different. It feels like it, but it just feels like it's a stable. It feels like it's a constant pressure. It feels like constant intensity.
Yes.
Do you feel that? I mean, I that's the best way to describe it because, and I'm pretty open-minded and pretty expandable, expansive, but it's a trip. It's a trip. I'm observed, but you're right, Kellee. You have to really step back and observe, and
you have to step
back
back
yourself to do that constantly. Where I wouldn't have to easily do that, but I'm constantly reminding myself to be objective, constantly stepping back. Because
there's a process, and that's the process, James, is to constantly remind yourself, step back, remind yourself, step back. Oh, this is what's happening. It's a process. It's exactly what you just said, actually.
And you got to step back because if you're going to be pulled right into it, it's like a big tidal wave. It's like a tidal
100%.
Wave. Pulled under. You feel like you'll be pulled under if you don't.
Well, I was going to save this for the end, but I will say this, that spiritualists talk about the time that we're in. And again, I always make the comment that we did choose to be here during this time because our souls are going to grow so much from this experience. But spiritualists talk about this time. They call it the time of great turbulence. And turbulence, it's the time of great turbulence. This whole year coming, the next several months, this time of great turbulence. And so what they say is to give thanks actually for this process because it helps us figure out what is important, what's not important. And then it begins the process of paying attention to things that you've been attached to, like greed or power or anger or ego. And it helps us to get that place of wisdom. When you let go of all of that, we go into the upper chakras, the 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th chakra, and it changes our dynamic of who we are. And the key during this next several months is going to be finding inner peace in a chaotic world. It's absolutely, going to be, the incentive is while you're going through this time is, wow, my soul is really growing. And when you get to that place, instead of being a victim of it, say, wow, did I learn a lot? I used to be, angry all the time, or I used to be an egomaniac. I mean, I saw family members, James, this week change, which shocking. I really did see a big change in family members. And so it gives me a lot of hope that people can change. I mean, if I didn't believe people could change.
Let me interrupt you by saying that for many years they see who you are. I think they finally have seen who you are, and you're a constant. You're a stabilizer. You're a constant, and they finally realize she's not going anywhere. She's who she is, and we got to treat her with respect. I think that's exactly what happened.
I think you're right. I think you're right. Yeah.
I think I just said something yesterday. I went to visit the Seaside Center Spiritual Living in Encinitas, where I'm going to be doing an event in 2 weeks with Gordon Smith, a demonstration. And I spoke to the congregation yesterday there, and something came into my mind as we're going to talk about spirit communication in 1 second. And this was definitely a sign from spirit, or if you will, a communication with them. And the communication they said to me, and I thought it was really interesting. And I haven't thought about it that came through, because all this intense energy is going around us left and right. And even that guy with the parking lot, the girl that pulled my bumper off, all these things. And I didn't get angry. I was just watching. I was like, wow. And I said to the congregation, or they came through and said, when you have those situations that you feel negative, or you think, those are opportunities to stop and turn them to positive.
Absolutely.
That's
transmute it. Transmute that energy.
Positivity. Mm-hmm. Okay, there's a moment. There's an opportunity for love. Here's an opportunity for joy. Here's an opportunity. So I, as crazy as it gets, I'll start dancing. This is crazy. And the other night I was dancing by myself outside in the garden, just hanging out. I'm like, well, they'll see me. Good for them. I don't care. Just dance and have a good time. It's some music on.
Right.
You have to be able to have a joyfulness. Yeah. Don't let it pull you down. It should remind us that we have to go up. As bad as it feels, turn it around and go up. That's an opportunity to go up and look at things differently. Shift that energy.
And we're going to have lots of opportunities.
Lots
of opportunities, everybody.
Stuff, you guys.
Oh my gosh. So James, this is going to be so fun with you and Gordon Smith. Oh, I wish I could be there. You guys, if you're in that area, everybody should go to this. Is it true? Wait, you're going to wear kilts? Is that true?
For the demonstration, we're wearing kilts. I can go show it to you now. He sent it to me about 2 years ago, when we first met each other. We did a demonstration once before, before COVID, and it was such a great time. And he said, if we do it again, we've got to wear kilts. So we're going to be wearing kilts. So the 25th and 26th, we're going to do a workshop, Mediumship Made Simple. And that's going to be here in Carlsbad, California. There's right there. And Gordon and I did an online Zoom teaching together. And for all the world, actually, it was 100 people from around the world. We kept it to 100 people. That it was one of the best teaching experiences I've shared with another medium. I've talked with Tony Stockwell and Pro. Oh, great, incredible. And Gordon too was great. But the weirdest thing, Kelly, which a lot of people have said, it's the weirdest thing. And you know me, I'm very skeptical, a little bit cynical. But for years people say, you have a brother in Europe. He's just
it's the truth. That's true.
And we met each other and we hang out, and we're very much alike. It's so kind of creepy. Even on stage, we do the demonstration, and he reads like I do. So when he gives a message to someone, it's like exactly the type of message I would give. So and his integrity's there, and we're going to teach about integrity, ethics, and really how to work with mediumship. And it should be simple. It shouldn't be difficult. You don't have to work at mediumship. It's very natural. Mediumship is very natural. So we're going to do a 2-day workshop, and then this will be followed up with a demonstration that Friday night, the 26th. So if anyone wants to go, please go to vanprog.com and look at the events. It's going to be a great
It's going to be a great couple of days there with him. I mean, you two together, it's really world class.
It's wild. And when you'll be in kilts, you'll find out what's underneath it. What is
you guys are going to have a really good time.
Do I Google that? Is there an app for that? I don't know.
So fun. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, he likes fun like I do. He likes to sing like I do. He likes to paint like I do. He likes to garden like I do. It's so weird with everything in common.
I've seen his artwork. Have you seen his artwork?
I have his artwork. He sent me a painting.
Quite phenomenal, James.
Incredible artist. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And when he sees your gardens.
Well, I think he's going to freak out. And my friend Carolyn Mumolo, who's on my website, who's an incredible psychic she does readings with everybody. If you haven't had a reading with Caroline, you should. She's
excellent. Excellent. She did a reading for me. Excellent.
Excellent. Me too. So why she's
Yeah.
coming out here, and I said, I'll buy you a new deck of cards because she'll only use the cards that I gave her 10 years, 15 years ago. So I said, when you come out, we're going to get you a new set of cards. So she's going to be at my house. Gordon Smith is going to be at my house. Gordon's assistant's going to be in my house. And my brother's going to be in my house. So Caroline, Michael, Gordon, and Jackie. So we're all going to be here.
That's going to be a hoot.
New puppies, which are coming
And the
Thursday.
dogs.
So
Okay,
I think
this is going to be fun.
ready for this, but I
I
don't
think
think
so.
Can you imagine? This is what I'm
No,
so
I
yeah,
cannot.
you say it's gonna be a little turbulent, it's gonna be intense. Oh,
It's
it'll
going to be intense. Well, and on top of that, on the 24th, Uranus actually goes retrograde, James, and that's going to make things really interesting. You know,
more
it's like
opportunity.
more opportunities. Yes, we'll talk about that in the next couple of weeks. We'll talk about that. But yeah, a very, very intense time. So let's talk. How do spirits communicate? Let's talk
Well,
about that.
Kelly, you start.
Well, you know, it's so interesting. They start
Every
thinking.
reading's different. So we gotta realize that number one.
Yeah. Well, yeah, every reading is different. Is that what you just said?
Every medium works differently. But
Yeah.
yes, how does and you're what would you how would you answer that?
Well, I would say that for me, my clairaudience is how I tune in. It seems to me that spirit gets very close to me and gives me messages, and I can hear them. I can actually hear them talk. I can also I get impressions, I get pictures, I get memories, I get thoughts. And you taught me this, James, to really go back. It's like catching what did you, like a cloud or something. It's very, it's a sensitive, it's a subtleness to it. I used to, as a beginning medium, I would kind of rush in like this. Only fools rush in. Doesn't work that way.
A lot of mediums I gotta go get it. No,
Yeah,
you don't.
nope, no.
Yeah,
It's like, it's like a feather, that just comes in.
feather and palm. Yep.
Exactly. And for me, I think the best thing I have as a clairaudience is to hearing. What
clairaudience, how does it work for you? Do you hear thoughts? Do you hear actual voices?
I do both. So I'll hear voices. I'll hear
objectively. I would think.
objectively. Yes.
Outside of you.
Outside of me, I'll hear a voice. I'll hear my name. I'll hear somebody else's name. I'll hear a big loud thing in my head. My name is John, or whatever it is. I'll hear it. And so I hear a lot. I get a lot of names, and I hear that a lot. What else do I do? And then I see they'll send memories, and then I'll get the feelings of it.
So the first thing, Kelly, overall, like most mediums, every single person in this room, everyone on the planet mostly, are clairsentient, which is clairsensing. So we all, first of all, sense. So you're highly sensitive. We call it empathy, empathetic, sensitivity. So we all have that. That's the number one clair, I guess you say. But then, of course, then it gets into your own personal makeup, and you're clairaudient. Now, as you hear those voices, like objectively, I hear them subjectively. So I hear in my head thoughts that are just not in my head, it's my mind. So, and the way to communicate is through the mind to mind. So when they work, it's so interesting because I really want to find out more about their world. And part of what I'm going to start doing now, this Friday is my first, it's a VIP meeting this Friday, and I'm going to talk about what spirits do on the other side. But I'm going to get delving into, for the next couple of months, probably 2 or 3 months, with the work I do, getting more into the process of them. How do they prepare for our communication? Because
that's a great topic.
Right? Because I know that they prepare ahead of time to do a meeting, like a demonstration. I know they prepare for a private reading because in their world, that there's no time. And that's already happened. So what they have to do is concentrate their thoughts. They really have to concentrate so much their energy, and that create from their mind. The mind lives on. The brain dies of physical death, but the mind is always there. And within that mind space is all of your thoughts, your memories, your lifetimes, past, future, and your memories you've shed in this current lifetime. And what they do is have to really slow down their vibration, really concentrate to slow down those thoughts. And then we really will have to practice at sending the thoughts, the energy to the mind, from their mind to the mind of the medium. Yeah. And then the medium has to be open and surrendered to such a point that it's really simplified into their consciousness, and they pick it up. And the more one listens, as far as a medium, we were just talking about, the more of a medium will listen, like putting the palm out waiting for that feather, the more they'll receive. Because if the medium goes rushing for it, they won't get it. And the spirit people, just because they're in the spirit world, it doesn't mean they know how to communicate, because there are many techniques, there are many ways. There are some that are very good at it, excellent. There are some that don't know anything about it. And last week when I did a demonstration, a man said, I've never done this before. It's a silly type of thing. I don't understand it. And then he attempted it and it worked for him. But it's so interesting how they look for different ways to communicate. So the number one way that spirits do communicate is a dream state. So most people have dreams of their loved ones, because we're out of our body at night. We go to the other side at night, in the other world, the other realms, I'm going to say, and we see our loved ones and our guides, and we see scenes before they happen that we're working on. We go over there, we prepare for lessons that we're going to be learning and so forth, that we're going to go through. And really, I know you've been to great temples over there, Kelly. I know when
I have been.
You go to the temples, you go to the halls of wisdom.
That's true.
I can never catch up.
I'm busy.
Kelly, let's go this way. I'm going over here. I'm like, but Kelly, let's go see this way. No,
okay.
Over here.
I think that's our next cartoon, by the way. That's a good one. I like that one. But you know that's true. And I know that we travel through all kinds of places.
Memory of that, or a realization.
I do too.
There, your coattails, like I'm reaching for you. Like, no, go over here.
Let's go over here.
We've done trips before, trips, like cruises, and we walked to cities and towns. And Kelly, look at it. We do that anyway.
We do it naturally.
In the astral world. Yeah. But so the number one way people that when you have a dream of your loved one, you're probably seeing them, and many times the conscious mind will not pick it up. But sometimes it does, and it feels more like a dream. I call it a crossover, because it's more than a dream. You feel like you're there.
I call it a lucid position, a lucid dream. Yeah,
I'll never forget. I had a boyfriend once, and he passed away. And we're very close. He used to come out from Florida every summer for 10 years, and we used to. And it was great. And it was great. He was wonderful, wonderful guy. He was a teacher, and when he passed, it was very, very sad. And we're good friends, and he passed of AIDS. It was sad. It was very sad. And I said, when you come over, you're going to survive this. He goes, oh, you think so? So, yeah. He goes, you mean to be floating around the universe? Like, yeah, you'll see. And he's come back, and he felt like a fool for not believing me, believe it or not. But what he did in a dream state, I'll never forget this. One of the strongest dreams I had, I was in my old apartment that he used to come to in LA. And it was if I was coming down from the morning for a cup of tea or coffee. And I'm sitting at the table in the dining room like we used to do. He opens up the cupboard, and there were all the tea boxes and the labels on them, as if it was right there. So he created that.
Yeah.
He created that scene from my mind that I know that he's there with me, and I'm with him, and then I'm visiting him. And I knew that was a visitation, but it was so real. So we all have those. It's the number one way that spirits will communicate, is setting up a space, creating that with their thoughts and their mind, a scenario. You've had those, Kelly.
Well, I've had those many times. In front of you would say I've had a lot of ex-boyfriends come to me in the middle of the night while I'm sleeping in a dream, and to apologize and tell me how they died, and apologize for treating me badly, and all of these things. But I'll tell you, James, I had something that happened, and I've shared this with you. I had something that happened. It was actually in like November. No, it was in January of 2021. So COVID had been ravaging everything. And I was in my office where I am now, and it was like 6 p.m. and I was watching the news actually. And all of a sudden, a loved one just showed up. And he didn't just show up as in, I have an idea he's here. He physically, in my mind, I saw him completely.
Objectively
outside appear. And he told me he had died of COVID. And it was shocking. It threw me it really threw me. I remember when something like this happened to Mavis Patilla once. You remember the story where she was ironing?
Yes.
And that man just showed up. It was just like that.
There was a bomb and a package or something.
Yeah.
And ended up at the airport. Yeah, that's right.
And so, that does happen. It's very rare.
It's where it takes a lot of energy, and also the energy of the medium, the person. It's happened to me twice. It happened to me once with Maisie. I told that story where the lady appeared and she was my great aunt, and it was like,
yes,
wearing a gray dress and the buttons down to the bottom to the top, 1930s, and was my great aunt. She said her name is Maisie May, and that's one time. The other time, actually, I've been 3 times.
Okay.
When I was a little boy in grade school, when the first spirit I saw spirit, a boy walked through a window in the classroom. I used to daydream as a kid because I'm not a morning person. So at home in the morning, I look like that. Once a nun hit me because I remember that.
Oh
And,
gosh.
knocked me out 5 minutes. I woke up 5 minutes on the floor and I'm looking up. I was like, whoa, talk about it. Yeah, unconscious. So that was the first time of the boy who said, I knew you in the Civil War. Never forget. And his name was Andrew. And then he left. I was like, but then the other time was my mother passed away.
Okay.
And I was working for some producer, a production company. Now, People for the American Way, Norman Lear's political organization. And we used to fight religious right back in Jerry Falwell days. And I remember that she had just passed, and I just got back. I remember I had to fly back to New York for a funeral, and I had no money. And I went to Macy's to get a jacket for the funeral. And I remember I returned it on the way back because I couldn't afford it. So I returned it. And that day I went to work, and I'm at my desk, and my mother came to me, and I looked up, and I'm like, oh, and she was right there. I was so frightened. I ran out to the hallway. I was so freaked out. Isn't that weird? For
it is, but I was frightened too. It just caught me off guard. But I told you what happened with my baby granddaughter this week.
To share that with everybody,
It was unbelievable. My granddaughter is going to be 3 in September, so she's not even 3 years.
We have gremlins.
There it goes, and then she says to me, Gigi.
Kelly, I think you're froze a little bit.
Oh, am I frozen? Am I back again?
You're back now.
Okay, good. See, telling the story, I tell you, I think this is what happened. So I'm walking down, holding her little hand, and we're in this hotel, and then she says, Gigi, it's spooky. And I said, it's spooky? What's spooky? And she said, ghosts. And I said, ghosts? They're ghosts? And she says, I said, you mean, is it Nana? Thinking my mom, maybe. And she said, no, Indians. I was stunned, because it's not a term that she would know to say. But not only that, we found out the next day, we went on a boat tour of where we were, and we found out that they had gotten rid of all the Indians and built this facility.
Wow.
It was unbelievable. So she wasn't scared. She was more like, it's spooky.
To me, that sense, that feeling I get with that, because she's young, she's 3 years old. So
yes.
she's in between worlds, really.
Yes, correct.
Mine says spirit world. She's just come from the spirit world.
Yes.
So she would think that way, and she's stepping into the physical. So young toddlers from 1 to about 4 or 5 go in between worlds. They step in between spaces.
Yes.
So she was in a space that vibration, that thought, those thought forms, that energy was there, and she was in between those times and space, and that happens.
And wouldn't you agree that toddlers are anywhere from like 2 to 5? I think you're absolutely right, or 1 to 5, that they can see, and that our loved ones come to them often, because I know she always talks about my mom, coming to her with the blonde hair, and she says, Nana.
Yeah, always. I used to see my grandfather when I was in the crib. I remember my grandfather used to come to me, because I was my mother, I'll never forget it. My mother and father put me in the crib. I think I was like 2 years old, maybe, and right around there. And I remember they put me in the crib to go to sleep, and I wanted to stay up. Of course, I was a night owl. I wanted to stay up because they were having fun in the living room, the other room, and I wanted to be part of that fun. And I'm lying in there crying, and I'll never forget, night after night, a man in the corner with white hair would come over and hold it like a mobile and play with it and play with it. And years later, I've told the story before, years later, my grandma was going through a photograph album. I said, wait, who's that man? She said, oh, that's your grandfather. He died before you were born. And it was his exact man. So kids are very, very open. Another thing I want to talk quickly for people, because a lot of people experience this. Spirit can come through in signs in different ways, communicate electrically. So if they had an aptitude for maybe electrical, to figure things out, science or technical things, many times they can, because of their soul makeup, can affect the electromagnetic field of things. So computers, radios,
light bulbs,
lights blowing out, going on and off, happens a lot, especially when Kelly and I are together. Forget about it. Yeah. But it happens. So they can affect things electrically. They can affect things like your favorite song comes on or something. Radio's like, what? Now, how does that happen? Well, and they can come through butterflies and birds. Are those signs? Yes, they give us signs. Now, are they the butterfly? Are they the bird? I don't know what you think about this, Kelly, but what I think is, and we might be different on this, my thought is that they will come into our mind and they send a picture of themselves to our mind as we're looking at a bird or a butterfly, and we have the association of our loved one with that bird or the butterfly.
Yes.
That's the way I can think of. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that. And while I was on this trip this past weekend, there was another license plate. License plates are big, everybody. It was parked right in front of my car, and the license plate was LU with a heart. My mother's name was LU, was Lou. So I know that she was there. And whether Lulu saw her or not, I know she was there. But those license plates are a big one. You know, I always look, and cloud formations, rainbows, those are big ones. Hearts, you know, like all of a sudden you'll be walking and find a heart something. That's huge. Huge
It's
with
just,
those.
they're all around us. And for them to get to our minds and to
Yeah.
the intelligence of that world, and the love vibration is so strong, that frequency they use to come through. So all different signs, smells, your favorite perfume or aftershave, that happens all the time. Again, depending on the how the spirit wants to communicate. So they might be have an aptitude toward scents, perfumes, or sometimes I'd be around and there's jewelry, and it's like, oh, all of a sudden I think of a loved one that passed over. No, that was her favorite earrings or
Right.
dresses. Whatever. They have different ways. There's another one which people should realize, that spirit can affect your mind in a way where they will come so close to your mind, and they will. It could be a bit of clairvoyance there, that you'll be walking down an aisle of a store and you look up and it looks like, oh my God, that looks like my mother, or that looks like my
Yes.
friend that passed over, and it looks just like their face. Now, is it? I don't know. I think that the spirit person is in putting your mind, placing the thought of that person there in your mind, so your clairvoyance, and it looks like it's them from a distance.
So my sister and I had that experience over the weekend also. It was a busy weekend. It was a busy weekend. It was the wildest thing. We were having dinner and the kids got up to go to the bathroom. And I turned to Carol and we both looked at each other and we said, look at that man. Doesn't he look like a friend of ours that we knew who had passed? And I'm telling you, it looked just like him. And we couldn't stop staring at him. And I know that was a sign. I know it was. You know, I know without a doubt.
Yeah, 100%. And, you know, we're just, I don't know, the spirit world is so around us all the time. I mean, I had an event today, which I'm not going to go into, but I had a bad thing happen from somebody who treated me really unkindly.
That's true.
And then I had someone today did just the opposite, and they were like an angel. And I'm still in the glow of the goodness and kindness, that there is the good and kindness out there. And when things happen, again, badly or not right, like in my situation, I don't think it was necessarily me. I think I was the conduit, in that person or whatever had to go through a lesson, and I was providing that scenario for that person to go through it, because I knew it had nothing really to do with me, but there was a scenario, there was a scene there that this person learned from. So I don't try to judge it, but it just shows you just the different people and how they behave and different things.
Yeah.
It's just amazing. But I know spirit is always around us if we just can be open to the subtle vibrations. And that best analogy, Kelly, of the open palm with the feather land, that's the subtlety that they use.
That's
when they
it.
come in.
And it's been my experience too, as a medium, that when I'm working with the other side, they will have watched me work. And,
Yes.
you know, I'm not a medium for everybody, but the ones that, and every medium works differently. And I feel that they will go maybe check out this medium, and maybe they'll check out somebody else. And then that person that's coming to see the medium is actually influenced by them.
Totally. 100%. You know, and they're always around us, everybody. They're always around us. They're just, and the more that we are open to it, the more they can present themselves to you.
Yes.
I the other day was writing, trying to get my book going, my second chapter, my new book I'm writing, fictional story I'm writing, and I've been so busy, I haven't had a chance to do it for a year, but I bought a little tablet to do this, and I opened it up, and I'm waiting for it to go on, and all of a sudden I heard Spirit say, if you turned it on, it would work. Thank you.
Thank you for that.
I forgot about that. I pushed the button, and I heard it loud and clearly. So, I mean, they're always around us, but we, of course, have to get out of the way. You know, we have to get out of the way.
Well, what about this thing? Because this happened to Renee, our producer, the other day. He was telling me about it. And this happens to a lot of people out there, where all of a sudden you're asleep and you hear your name real loudly. How many times has that happened to you?
A lot.
Right?
I remember talk about that grandfather again. I
Yeah.
was doing private readings in LA when I was doing them, and I remember I just finished a reading, and so the person left my apartment, and I went up, and I remember I had a fish tank in my office. It was a nice fish tank, and I heard him. I just said, "I'm gonna lie down here on the couch just to rest after that reading," and I heard him so clearly say, "You did a good job there, James," and it was so loud. It was loud. I was like, "Wow,
Wow. Right? Yes.
it happened. It
So
does
they
happen.
can do that. They can also speak out loud like that.
They can do that, and
It's
it takes a
rare,
lot of
but it does happen.
they can do it. And of course, that was a room that I was using for physical mediumship too. We were sitting in development circle there as well. And that's where I used to go into trance. So another way that spirit comes through to everybody to communicate is what we, and most everybody here has it every single day. I bet you wouldn't know it. It's called inspiration. So
Ah,
spirit comes through inspiration. Inspiration means in spirit. So the thoughts that you have, they can inspire you. They can come down and feed you thoughts, feed you creative thoughts, feed you different ways of doing something all the time. They're around that. So that's another easy way to come through to us and communicate with us.
I've always thought that some, like well-known musicians, all of a sudden a song comes into their head. If they don't grab that song, does that song go to somebody else? I wonder.
I wonder about that too,
Yeah.
because I've composed music, as you know. I did a
Right.
whole score, and it was on an airplane, and it's really great music. And I know they were feeding me that. And
Yes.
it's just, but yeah, then you wonder if it's a zeitgeist, if it's up there somewhere and we just pull it down, or if it's, some spirits are coming, our teachers, inspirers,
Inspirers. That's what I think. Yeah.
feeding us. I think we're all vessels, and I think that we have I don't know, just getting a sense of like tuning in, like tuning a guitar, tuning like a pitchfork, tuning in. So they tune into our vibration. They send out those thoughts that will help us. And again, the more open we are, the more we can reach them, and the more they can reach us.
It's interesting. Juliet Capulet says, I think it wants me out of my house. When she hears voices, she says she thinks that they want, to get her out of the house.
Why? Why would they want to get out of your house?
Well,
Why
I
is
will
that?
tell you, James, I was actually asleep and I heard, Kellee, get up, there's a fire.
Oh,
Get up now, there's a fire. And I wouldn't get up and I heard it louder and louder. Kellee, get up, there's a fire. And sure enough, my room was on fire. Yeah, so they do work. My poor guides.
They warn us. They do. No, they do. They warn us all. They do.
I think they do. I think they can give us some warnings.
I was
Yeah.
almost hit and run accidents. Almost hit.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's the gasoline thing. So I was like, thank God.
That's right. No,
Yeah.
that's true.
I would have
Wow.
been on La Brea Boulevard back in 1987 if I didn't listen to that voice that said, go over there now. And I did. And I'm hearing bang. And it was a car went right into my car.
Oh
And I
my
was
gosh.
yes, in the tank. So it was an old car, 1967 in Pal, I think it was. I was just in LA. And yeah.
Oh
And that
my
was a
gosh.
voice that said, now. I got many times it's happened to me actually. And yeah, is it a form of mediumship? Yeah. Cold breezes, sure. That's another
Oh, cold breezes. Yes.
goosebumps, another way for sure.
Yeah.
They
That's what
can-
happens to me, James. I get real goosebumps everywhere. And I go, okay, now I know I'm saying the right thing. Here we go.
validation, right?
Validation. Yeah.
And if you set up a way to talk to spirit and say, this is how I work, and this is what I teach mediumship,
Yes.
I work this way. So, like when I first began, the mother's side would be on the right side of me, in my mind. The father's on the left side. And for me, it was a reference point. So I call the reference library. So and everything the mother to pertain to the mother was on the right side. That was on from my own way of unscrambling things. It was like a chess game, really. And it gives the spirit guides direction, because you can't just leave it up to them. You really have to give them some clues here. And so it's like you got to give them directions that you can work best. You work with your guides. They work with what they have. But if they know that you have directions, which way you want them to, what seat you want them to take, they will do that. So we should always be in contact with those guides, our helpers, our inspirers, if ever we're going to do spiritual work, whether it's
Right.
mediumship, whether it's inspirational speaking or creative work. Definitely think it should work with them and be open to it.
Yeah. Oh,
And
absolutely.
this is interesting because someone just passed about talking about their child. Many, and this has come up a lot lately. A lot of children passing over, and parents have contacted me. I mean, I heard it 3 times yesterday at the center, and people have sent me books. And I just want to say that when children pass over, and I wrote a book about this, I do believe that before we come back in the incarnation, that there might be an agreement that that soul's going to leave at that particular time as a child, and that we have agreed upon that before we incarnate. Because many times that child becomes one of our guides, and our soul's work will be complete until that soul is the other side, helping us to finish our destiny here.
Right.
So it does happen, everybody. Not every situation, but that certainly is true to some of them.
Yeah, no, I agree with that statement, James. There's always something here to learn about all of this. Adeline Mersch says, do animal spirits communicate as often as human spirits?
Well, mine do.
Yours do, yeah, for sure.
Maisie used to communicate. Talk about this last week. Maisie used to communicate with me when I was at hotels. She used to come to bed and say, "Hi, Dad, I miss you." I'm like, "Oh, hi." And she communicates still. She's been very busy since she's passed over, but she's around. She's gonna help me with the puppies as much as she can.
Oh, she'll be busy. You'll be busy.
Yes. They do. Yes, dogs, animals, all animals, cats, dogs, all animals. I mean, and the thing I get with animals is, wow, I'm gonna cry. I feel their appreciation. I just feel their appreciation. They're always appreciative. Always.
Oh, so
Spirit
sweet.
side of life is so appreciative.
Wow. Lee Collier says, I had a voice in my head, park in the laneway. There's a less chance of being hit. He said, I moved the car, and 20 minutes later, a plumbing truck lost their load of pipes that fell on the exact spot where I moved the car.
Totally. Every day they do that. If you're on a highway or a freeway and you're driving and you feel, I should move over to another lane. It's because
Right.
they're walking over you.
Yes.
It's so true. So what happened with that guy at the beginning of the show, I was talking about that when the entrance, Spirit said to me, go this way and then make a left turn into the parking lot. It'll be easier. And I was sitting there and listening to them. And that's when the man came in. So it's so funny. So who knows what that was about? But I knew I had to stay where I was. And then the man came right up to me. So
Oh my gosh. Wow. That's fascinating.
Loretta Conti says, I have seen many relatives that have crossed over. 11 years, my mom came to me, warned me of bad things coming my way. She was crying and said she wished she could help me, but God had a plan. Oh, there you go. I touched her thigh and felt her flesh, her love. When I woke up in the morning, an old scar on that arm had spontaneously started to bleed. 2 weeks later, both my daughter and husband were in the hospital with cancer. I've heard many noises over the years in the house. Well, Loretta, you're definitely mediumistic, obviously.
Yeah,
that does
clearly.
happen. And that God has a plan. I like that. God has a plan because we all have a plan. We have a destiny plan. And it's like taking a class. And we've come back here to this school, Earth, to go through these classes. And we can't cut school. We never should cut school.
You can't.
No.
You just want to pass the tests. You're going to get tests. You want to pass them. Here's a hint. Do good. Be nice. Be kind. That's the answer.
Yeah, love. Love is
love. That's it. That's the answer.
Love, no matter what.
It's easy.
Unconditional love.
That's it.
Unconditional love.
So this is a good question. Kathy Pengelly says, do mediums know that people will pass within a year?
I don't know. I mean, psychically.
I always say it's between the soul and, God. I just
sometimes I think that certain things are hidden. We call them hidden or cloaked. And so when you're in a seance
that's the
room,
word, cloaked. Yeah.
Cloaked. I'm going to be at the Winchester Mystery House in September, by the way.
No, you're going to do it again this year?
Sarah Winchester's 100th anniversary of her passing.
Okay.
And up there, and I'm doing a seance in the seance room.
I might have to go. I might have to go.
Come on over. It's fun, Kelly. It's really.
My gosh.
I'll fly out for your birthday present.
So sweet. Okay. I might have to go.
We'll stay in San Jose.
Okay. Oh, God. How fun.
We do a whole, it's 2 tours, go through the house. It's really cool. And then we do a whole room. They have a great parlor. It's an old Victorian house. And we actually do a seance. We hold hands and the candles and I do readings and I let spirit come through to me. Like, it's really interesting, old Victorian time.
Okay.
So,
I have to go.
Okay. Yeah,
I have to go to this. That sounds like amazing, actually.
You should go because you're going to be.
God. I'll help you with it. But remember you did the movie, the Sarah Winchester movie. And I went to that. Janelle and I went to that, remember? And they gave us those black veils. And we're like, this is a little strange here. I just don't want to wear a black veil.
What was the actress's name?
Helen Mirren.
Helen Mirren. So I'm another red carpet, right? And she played Sarah Winchester. I'm like, why would she take this part? It's going to be a horrible movie, which is a horrible movie. Horrible movie.
Horrible.
Because it It really wasn't good. And I remember, oh, good, Helen Mirren. I'll meet Helen Mirren. I'm not a big star type person, but I always loved Helen Mirren. She's
Me
great.
too.
I want to say hi to her. And if you remember, she was red carpet. I had the red carpet thing. And I walked over and said, and Helen was old talking to people. And I didn't want to interrupt her, but I wanted to say hi before she passed on to the rest of the people. I said, excuse me, Helen. And she turned around. And it goes to that thing where you have an idea what a celebrity is going to be like.
Yeah.
And then when you meet them, it's completely different.
Completely.
It's completely different. It happens every time to me. It's happened in my life. Every time. Sally Jesse Raphael, completely always going to be a sweetness. She was one of those nastiest people I've ever had to deal with in my life.
Remind me, what did she do? Because I forgot.
So Helen Mirren, but it finished the Helen Mirren thing. Helen turned and goes, and I said, Helen, nice to meet you. Turns and goes, oh, it's so nice of you doing your work tonight. Thank you. And turns and leaves. I'm like, wow, okay. Weird. Sally Jesse, I was on Sally Jesse's show with the red glasses, and I always loved her, Pisces lady. And I remember there was a couple on stage with me, and they'd lost their son, and it was tragic. It was very tragic. And I was able to bring him through, and he hung himself in the front yard in the tree.
Ooh,
so we're going through.
That's a situation.
And that was a situation.
Oh.
And it was a heavy situation. And I was like, oh, and I was doing my thing, and I was being kind, so kind and empathetic. And the segment was over, and Sally goes, she's in the audience, goes, and we'll be right back. We'll be right back. She leaves. She doesn't even say a thing to these people. That was it. I was like,
she left
what?
them. I hate to make it not a pun, but hanging. She did. I mean, just that was it. That's
She
awful.
didn't say goodbye to these people.
Oh, that's terrible.
And
She
then
didn't put them
Oprah
back together.
No. And I saw the dressing room and said, Sally, don't you think you say something to those people? I did.
Oh my God, what'd she say?
Have they left yet? I said, no, I think they're still out there. Probably say hi.
God.
I don't know if she did or not, because I was so upset by it. But and the other one was Oprah. Oprah was a real good one.
What? Oh, tell.
Oh, sure. So Oprah was a lady who was, I was on her show during the cattle fiasco. Remember the cattle?
Oh, of course. Yeah, because I work for the meat industry.
Yes,
as a vegan. Yeah, I remember this fiasco. It was huge in my world at the time.
It was awful.
Oh, God.
Well, everything in those days was get on Oprah's show, your book will be number one. Well, my book was number one before Oprah's show. I was number one for Larry King, right? So it took forever for them to get me on the show. And I had to fly down to wherever that was in Texas, San Antonio or Austin.
Yeah. Nowhere near
some
there.
high school that had it there and set up a thing. She wasn't there at like 1 o'clock. I think it was a shoot time to start the tape. She didn't get there till around 6.
Oh, boy.
And I'm a nervous wreck because there's all these white
I
people.
bet.
And I'm like, oh, this is great. And it was just felt weird. Anyway, she shows up at like 5:30 or something. She comes in, the Secret Service looked at her, she must be here. And my publicist at the time for the company's there, and I was nervous and waiting for her. I'm like, and doing mediumship, you have to build your energy up.
Oh, yeah.
And so finally she shows up, and she comes backstage right next to me, and she goes, hey, James. And I've been trying to be nice. My Sagittarius moon got in the way, I think. I said, hi, Ope, how are you? I called her.
Oh, no.
You don't call her Ope.
Oh, no.
And I put my arm around her shoulder. Hey, hello. She turns her shoulder.
Oh, well.
I'm like, oh, shit. Is that wrong? So
Pretty funny.
you're going to be James is going to be preset. We're going to start with him, and then you're going to come on. And she goes, oh, no. It's my show. I'll be out there first. I'm like, okay. I'm thinking to myself, okay. So she goes out, starts the show, and she literally said, you can see it on tape. If you ever watch it, go on YouTube, you can see it. She goes, I don't know why this book became number one. He hasn't been on my show yet. Swear to God. That was my introduction. Yeah. And it was a great show. Great readings. Amazing. Guy that died on Fuji, and he said to his mother, I'm going to show you, I'm going to come through and communicate with you via a photograph. And I said, did you, this is before the show, did you, he was a camera crew. He goes, I think he might have, but we don't have anything. Well, you're going to be, the camera, all the camera crew is going to come back to you, and there's a message for you. He's going to communicate on a picture. And it's going to communicate something about you, you need to pay attention. It's okay. I swear, Kelly, like a month later, they called me, Don and Sue Raskin, and they called me up. They were great people. And so, James, we just got Doug's stuff back and there's a camera, and we had it exposed pictures.
Oh
Exposed,
my
developed,
gosh.
and there's a picture that says, and Oprah's talking about it, and it says, "I love you," and it's ingrained in the photo,
Oh,
which I had not seen it, and
wow.
I'm looking up at that picture, I'm like, and you guys
That's
just
amazing.
Oprah goes, "How did that get there?" That's pretty good. She goes, that's pretty good. I'm like, yeah.
That's pretty good. Like a partner trick.
You think? So I was like, so at the end of the show, and then we'll move on
Yeah.
here. The show was over. It was a good show. I thought it was great, and she was right. She had to be a little skeptical, fine, but I'm sure she's very different these days. I'm sure she is. Anyway, she goes back to change to another to go into the show, and the producer said, "Would you mind answering a few questions about twin souls and this sort of thing?" I said, "Sure, I'd be more than happy to." So I'm sitting there, they're taping me, and we're 15 minutes into it, and then Oprah comes back in a different outfit. I swear to God, she goes right in the middle of their shooting. She goes, "Is he still here?
Oh my gosh.
Is he still here?"
Oh,
How rude! How rude!
that's pretty rude.
I know it's easy, so I don't get who you are. So she sits down, and the producer goes, "Yeah, we're asking this question with this twin soul." She goes, "All right, let me do it. Let me do it." So she sits down and goes, "James, what is a twin soul?" And I said, "I already answered that question. That's the
Good
next
for
one."
you.
Uh-huh. Yeah. All right, come
I
on.
can see that one.
I already answered that. Moving on to the next one. Come on, let's go. I said, my time is precious.
Good for you. Did you get asked back again?
Wow.
Oh, that's okay. Oh, that's hysterical.
Funny. And it's funny how through the years mediumship has changed, because now people are much more open to communication, much more open to, hearing from spirit. When I first started, no one would believe it. It was really hard, the skeptics and so forth. And now everyone had experiences now.
Well, you were the one that kicked the door open.
I
mean,
did
you
for
heard spirit from the beginning and you started talking about it. You were unafraid to do that. You really changed everybody's world by that.
First, the media, Brian Hurst, who was my teacher, said, it was one who predicted. He said, "The spirit world is going to use you. They're going to you're going to help change the consciousness of the planet." And I was like 24, I think. And I said, "Oh, I just want to be a sitcom writer. I don't want to do that." He goes, "Oh, you will." And it happened. But yeah, then I was out there. And then after me came John Edward, or Sylvia Brown, I should say, if you consider her that. And then John Edward came out after me. And John Edward's show, we'd crossing over. I was over that show first from a producer from Sci-Fi Network just came out. And I'll never forget that they called me up. I think it was Bonnie Hammer. She called me up and she said, "You want to do the show?" And it's in New York. And I said, "No." I thought, no. I had #1 book and I've been out to the TV long. But you know what? There's a man in New York I just worked with who's not known. He works at a hospital and does readings at night. His name is John Edward. You should call him up. Here's his phone number. And that's how crossing over happened, which was
That's
fabulous.
amazing.
And that helped open things up a lot as well.
Oh, totally.
We do things together, everybody, and it's good. But the world's very, very different now. Thank God.
Yeah. Thank God it is. But you got it that way. You really helped make it that way. You really did, James.
My mission, mission.
I know. You should be proud of yourself.
Now I'm a general contractor.
Now you're a general contractor and a gardener. Who knew? You do it all.
A friend of mine called me a farmer the other day. I said,
farmer?
I had a bunch of tomatoes yesterday. I'm getting peppers.
By the way, you have great tomatoes. You have a fabulous vegetable garden. You do. I love your vegetable garden. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Pests and the insects that love them too.
Oh, you'll learn everything you can about that.
Oh yes, I will.
Oh my gosh. So you have your event, your VIP event this Friday.
This Friday, I'm doing Messages for Spirit, and I'm going to talk about what they do on the other side during what we call their time. What they're doing, they just don't float around on clouds like people think. So we're going to talk a little bit about more in depth about what the spirit side, the different realms of life.
That's going to be so interesting.
Yeah, and the different messages I get through. We're going to talk about what does that particular spirit do when they think through a person, a spirit for someone in the audience. What we're going to see what they particularly do on the other side. So,
one day I was on a cruise ship, James, and when you're on a cruise, you can get a lot of messages easily. And I was on a cruise ship.
Yes, cruise ship. We'll talk about that in a second after you.
Definitely. It was just a cruise ship for me. I was just, I wasn't working or anything. I was just on it. And anyway, I saw somebody who had passed over, somebody that I knew actually who passed over. And I said, "Well, what do you do?" And he said to me, "I sell T-shirts on the beach." And I said, "You sell T-shirts on the beach?" And he said, yes. Now, this man had been a huge clothing manufacturer in the world. Huge. You'd know his stuff. And I said, is that what you do? He said, I just love to walk up and down the beach and hand out T-shirts. And I thought, I'd never heard a soul say that, anything like that before. Wow. I know. Think about that. I just hand out T-shirts. It was like he got to create T-shirts.
Well, you can create a scenario. Yeah, anything you want. But
anything
the best,
you want. Yeah.
Best your communication cruise story I heard of is when Kellee and I think went to Alaska and your stepmother was on there.
Okay. Should I tell that story?
Yes, and how spirit communicate. This is an incredible way of how the intelligence of their world and how they put it together, Kellee.
Okay, so my stepmother, we took her with us to go on the cruise with James, and you were in Alaska, and with Mavis, you and Mavis were in Alaska, and I said to Judy, my stepmother, my father had died a year before, and I said, come on, Judy, it'll be good. You'll come on this cruise, and it'll be good for you. And she knew who you were, James, but she had never followed any of this. This was not her thing. And so one morning, and you started on time, I think it was 9 a.m. on time. You were starting at 9, I think it was 9 a.m. And I said to Judy, no, I get there early because I sit right in the front. And Judy said, okay. And I was headed to get there by 8:30 in the morning. But what happened is people kept talking to me. It's Kellee this, Kellee that. They were pulling me in and I kept saying, I've got to go. It's going to, the seats somebody's going to take my seat and I have to hurry and get there. Anyway, when I got there, you were just beginning. It was 9 o'clock on the door and on the exact time. There were only 2 seats left. And the 2 seats that were left were way in the back. So I was bugged. I was already bugged. But I said, oh, my God. And we had to crawl over people to get into those seats, these 2 seats. So we sit down.
And we partnered up.
And then you said, everybody out, take a partner. And if you know the person, you can't partner up with them. So turn to the other direction. So I looked at Judy. I said, I'm sorry, I can't be your partner. And she turned to the woman next to her to the right. And I turned to the person next to me on the left. And we worked for an hour doing all kinds of things. And at the end of this exercise, James says, does anybody want to talk about it? I see my stepmother go, yes. And she raises her hand fully like this. It's the wildest thing ever. So here's what happened. Wildest thing ever. So imagine how spirit made this one work. It was Judy, my stepmother, and the woman next to her both lost their husbands a year ago on the exact date, August 1st. 2013. They both lost their husbands on that day. All right, that's unusual right there. Both husbands were named Lee.
Yes.
That's unusual.
Yes.
Very. Both husbands were jazz trumpet players, professional, and both husbands had worked together in many bands along the way. Now, come on. Now, I know my dad and this other Lee made this happen because I'm never late. Never.
Yeah. They made that happen.
They made that happen.
And they come in so many different ways. And another one I remember is the Beacon Theater in New York. I was playing there. And I remember I brought through this kid that died of a rare disease. Rare. And then also I said, and I'm going to go to this lady up there in the balcony. And your daughter's here. And she has the same disease. She does. Yes, she did. And they didn't know each other, but that spirit of the daughter and the spirit of the son came together that night to bring those 2 families together.
That happens. That's how spirits communicate.
Very rare disease too.
Wow, yeah. James, and it's amazing. I mean, every day is filled with all kinds of amazing coincidences.
Yeah, God's way of remaining anonymous.
Exactly. I love that. Well, everybody, this has been a great show. There's no coincidence, Shelley. You're absolutely right. So sign up for Friday night because, James, you're doing the VIPs. Well, tell us about the VIP.
So it's VIP is a 2-hour event. And I'm going to go into depth about the other side, the different realms, what people do over there, activities over there, what you can create over there, so forth. And also do messages from the spirit worlds. It'll be a teaching, also a demonstration. And it's going to be an in-depth one. So that's this Friday. And then the Gordon Smith workshop in 2 weeks.
It's going to be fantastic. All right, everybody.
We'll see you next time.
See you soon.
Okay, bye. Thanks, Renee. Thanks, everyone.
You've been listening to Both Sides Now and Beyond, featuring spiritual medium and master teacher James Van Praagh and spiritual medium and psychotherapist Kellee White.
That was great. Maybe we changed some lives.
And maybe opened up some minds.
Which way do I turn?
Right. I mean left.
James and Kellee Show.